If you live in Leadville or have been through Leadville recently, you're probably curious about what's going on at Railyard Leadville Subdivision. If so, stick around. All right, well, Railyard Leadville is probably the biggest development in Leadville in the last 130 plus years. And today, I'm fortunate enough to be with John Lichtenegger, the developer of the Railyard, to talk a little bit about the subdivision and where it's headed. So good morning, John.
Good morning, Mark.
So
thank you for having me.
Yeah, glad to be here. So I was hoping maybe before we get started, you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got out to Colorado and got involved in the rail yard.
I fell in love with Colorado as a young man. I was very fortunate to get to work at a place called Philmont Scout Ranch in northern New Mexico. And one of my best buddies that I met there was from Denver, and we made several trips up here into Colorado to climb taller mountains and enjoy Colorado, and just fell in love with it. Later, my daughter ends up choosing CU to go to college, and she's a graduate of CU undergrad and law school. I'm a lawyer by trade, but I've been involved in real estate from before I became a lawyer. I was very interested in it at a young age. And so my family and I have some major developments that we've done in Missouri, and we've had other projects out here in Colorado, but none like the rail yard. It really presented a challenge, and a friend of mine told me about the property, and looked at it first in 2008. Actually had it under contract then. It was not the time to do it. There were a lot of infrastructure issues, but by 2016, a lot of those infrastructure issues were resolved with the expansion of the sanitation district and a very progressive mayor coming into office. So did some great planning with one of the best master planning architectural firms in the state. Started out with Wolf Lyons, and then they were pretty much retiring, but the people that they trained and mentored formed a firm called Pelona Architects and Urbanists, and I was lucky enough to get them to do a master plan, and almost all of the architecture you see in the rail yard has been pre-designed by them using historical techniques, historical colors of Leadville, and trying to blend and make this what we consider to be a legendary addition to Leadville a reality.
So you basically took design elements, cues from the history of Leadville, from the old mining district, and mixed that with more modern construction to get what we have here.
Right. We took hundreds of photographs and getting ready for the architecture. The one thing we did not want to do, we did not want to duplicate or replicate any of the truly historic, priceless treasures of Leadville. And that includes everything on Harrison Avenue. And so we were very careful to take advantage of some of those techniques, but not to duplicate or replicate historical buildings of the district.
Yeah, well, it's looking great. So
thank you.
Yeah. So who do you really envision as being the target, buyer for the subdivision? Who's going to live here, and who's eventually going to come here to conduct business?
Well, that has sort of changed, especially after COVID. We started building right in the middle of COVID, and originally I anticipated that 2/3 of the homeowners here would be absentee homeowners. That has changed dramatically to where more than half the people who are buying and locating in the rail yard are permanent residents. In other words, they live here full time. Mm-hmm. And so that was an unexpected benefit for the community because they're all getting involved. We have residents here that are on the opera board, different community boards, and just being part of the community and helping the community develop and improve.
Oh, that's fantastic.
To answer your question, though, it's primarily young people, some with young children, but younger folks. But we've also had retirees come here from military and people that love Colorado and love the high adventure life. This is as high a adventure you're going to get in the state of Colorado. Sure. So they love it. There's just everything to do, summer and winter as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what would you say for that type of buyer, any buyer looking in the rail yard? What are some of the main benefits of buying in the rail yard as opposed to any of the other developments around town?
Well, in terms of the rail yard, we are a homeowner association community where the homeowners, in fact, we're getting ready to transfer all of the board seats. There will be 5 board members of the HOA. I can be one or not be one as a developer, but this HOA board, very, very active people here that are very involved and want to see the development continue to improve with completion of our last sidewalk scheduled this year. 90% of those are done. It's completely, phase 1 is a completely walkable development with the addition, not the addition, but the fact that the Mineral Belt Trail borders us completely on the south side of our development, and everybody has access to that as well. So you can walk to downtown very quickly within 5 minutes. You can walk to the grocery store or the supermarket in 5 minutes in the other direction. It's very very well situated, and the home values here are going to remain steady and improving. We've seen that continuously in all of our other developments. As long as we continue to have a real strong design review committee on what's built here, it just strengthens the value even more as it's going through the build out process.
Yeah, it's a shame you couldn't have better views here too.
Oh,
I mean, yeah,
they're incomparable. While we don't guarantee a view, most people are going to have the view of a lifetime. And we have the 2 highest mountains, Mount Elbert and Mount Massive. I think everybody in town here has climbed them several times, and just love it up here every day. You're just astounded at the views, especially as the seasons change as well.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
So in addition to the residential component, obviously we have single family homes, we have townhomes, and we'll continue to build more of those as the subdivision progresses. There's also a large commercial component to the project. So what are the current plans for commercial development as we move forward?
Well, the plans are some that I have, but primarily other people are coming in and wanting to do some projects, so that's the way we plan that. I'm not necessarily a full-time builder, I'm a developer, and so my experience has been to develop prime properties for commercial, office, retail type of things. And very fortunately, just this week, we were signing a letter of intent for a 73-room hotel that's going to be built at the corner of 12th and 24. And we have another location, Mount Auburn Road at US 24, where we have plans for a dual branded Marriott product.
Mount Massive?
Yeah.
Mount Massive Drive, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And I keep referring to Mount Auburn, that's a street back home, but no, it's Mount Massive. And anyway,
Mountain View.
Mountain View
Sorry,
Drive.
we're both messed
yeah,
up.
we're both
Mountain
it's
View.
Mountain View Drive. And but Mountain View Drive, we've already extended it all the way to our eastern border, so that street is in. And we have already sold several of the commercial lots. One is for a brew pub or perhaps a brewery. We did sell a lot early on to Feather Petroleum for a modern gas station convenience store, but architecturally correct for the rail yard. That's in the future. That's going to be planned, but they have bought the lot. We have another local investment couple that has bought a lot on the highway. They have some plans. But we're also going to be building a really nice retail commercial space at the corner of 15th and 24 with 2 additional stories of apartments or condos that can be either rented or sold as condos for 6 units per floor. So it'll be 12 units in that building. We're going to see a lot of this along the highway where we're already pre-approved for buildings which have, let's say, retail, office, medical facilities, whatever it might be, with live space above. And that's very, very popular. It's in high demand.
That's great.
Yep.
So what is there any idea on the time frame for some of this commercial development?
Yes, the the hotel people would like to get started yet this fall, and as soon as they can get site plan and architectural approval from the city and from our design review process, they will be underway. That's probably going to take a year and a half or so to build. A building that myself and some partners are building. That building is under design right now by Ronnie Pelusio's architectural firm. And then the biggest project we're starting this summer of 24, is a 28-unit condominium building, again with magnificent views, underground parking, and everything from a small studio, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units will be available next year about this time. In other words, we'll start.
That should be really nice. Yeah, that should really, I mean, one of the things with all the bigger homes that have been built here and the bigger townhomes is, you know, the price point's been higher. Everything's been pretty much 3+ bedrooms. So with those studios and 1-2 bedrooms, you think we're going to be able to kind of get a more mix of home sizes and pricing subdivision.
Absolutely, and it's also going to be hopefully an entry point for some folks that want a place in the mountains, whether permanently or seasonally, to be able to afford it. And we're working with the number one mortgage producer in the state right now with incentives and other things that will help younger buyers and get into some real estate up here if they want to. Mm-hmm. I should mention the one thing we have to offer is price. The things that we're building right now sold for less than this, or that built in the past, but we're still at a price point between about $475 and $525 a square foot. All the surrounding counties, Summit and Eagle, you're looking at $1,000 to $4,000 a square foot in Vail.
Right.
But so
you're practically giving these houses away.
Right. But it's a joy to see people come and appreciate the architecture and the interiors of the homes. We've had a lot of compliments on that. Mm-hmm. And in some cases, we're able to do some customization of homes, especially with flooring, cabinetry, appliances, and things of that nature.
All right. Well, that's great. I know this has been a challenging development, like you said, in many ways. And one of the ways is just because, Leadville in general, the entire town, has had a lot of environmental concerns in the past. So I know that that's one of the things you had to address as you developed the subdivision. So you could tell us a little bit maybe about just what's been done on the environmental front, and maybe also what's the future holds for environmental features here in the subdivision.
That's a huge part of the development was making sure that every single lot, every surface of this 40-acre property was in a position to be built on for residential purposes. And so we went in cooperation with the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, entered into a cleanup program, which they supported very heavily, to where we took samples of the earth here and what was left here in the way of cinders by the railroad, and where necessary, we literally removed them and put them in a safe repository that the United States EPA has here in Leadville, a few miles away. So we totally cleaned the facility, the property, and hauled away tons and tons of cinders, which had some contamination from all of the mining activities that were here. And so we ended up getting from CDPHE what they call the gold standard, meaning after many tests and retests of the property in particular areas, every single square foot of this property is buildable safely on very good residential property. And that's standard. That letter is used for all lenders, appraisers, and there's nothing better. So we're very proud of that. It's one of the big contributions we've made to this community. And we're very grateful that CDPHE and EPA helped us along the way. Mm-hmm. And also different people. The county commission here has some jurisdiction over that quarry where this any contaminated products can be dumped. And Newmont Mining also helped us out with giving us a place to put clean cinders. You can't build on cinders whether they're contaminated or clean, and so we had some that didn't qualify to go into the repository, and Newmont Mining had a hole that they needed filled, and they were glad to help us out.
Oh, that's great.
So we had a lot of cooperation there.
That's good. So are there any other kind of environmental features that you're already incorporating into the subdivision or that you plan to in the future?
Yes, the big one is we have 2 major detention facilities, and those facilities are designed to take out any kind of solids, anything that would not be water gets detained in our detention facility, so we're releasing a good quality water into the storm system, which eventually ends up in the Arkansas River. And we want to make sure that's as clean as possible. And we've done a good job with that. Everybody's very, very happy with that. So water quality is a huge thing. I might mention that Leadville, Colorado has the purest water in the state of Colorado. Literally doesn't need to treat it. They're mandated to put one chemical in it. I don't know what it is, but that's how clean the water is here. We want to keep it that way.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah.
So one other thing I've noticed driving around, and you told me about, well, we have several homes that have solar panels on the roof.
Yes.
And there's also been a pretty large demand for electric vehicle charging stations.
Yes.
So those are, I guess, are some other environmental features that you guys are adding.
Yes, we gave everybody an option to add solar as a supplement to their power systems for the homes, which is Xcel Energy, both natural gas and electric. In terms of phase 1, we have 1 more house to build out of 26. That would make 27 single-family homes and about the equivalent amount, about 30 to 40 townhomes. In the next phase, we have pre-planned to do about 40 homes and 12 townhomes, and all the single-family homes will be solar-powered with battery, Tesla Powerwall backup batteries, and a natural gas fired generator in case there's about 10, 12 days out of the year solar will not power the house. So it's going to be a shift into a non-fossil fuel environment in terms of generating our own power for the homes in the next phase.
Oh.
And so it's going to be the first time it's been done in Colorado. I know that.
That's impressive.
Now, there's a lot of homes scattered around Lake County and around Colorado that do the same thing, but not on a subdivision type or a development basis.
Oh.
So we're excited about that.
Yeah.
We have some really sharp people working on that to make sure these homes are actually more energy efficient and energy independent. They'll be more reliable than being on the grid. So that's our objective, and we're gonna get there.
Fantastic. So are there any ways that Railyard Leadville you see kind of contributing or integrating with the local community?
Well, I think it has, and if you draw concentric circles and use the rail yard as your center point of circles, and we are just so close to almost every amenity that the town of Leadville or greater Leadville offers. And the whole design was to make it completely walkable. Like we mentioned before, the Mineral Belt Trail is on the south. We have extensive sidewalks. At the request of the City Council, we put in an 8-foot wide pedestrian pathway all along US Highway 24, which makes virtually the entire property accessible to shopping and everything else that you might want to walk to. In addition, we've donated a strip of land all along the eastern boundary of the development to the county and city for the future Fremont Pass Trail that will connect Leadville to the main trail down at Copper Mountain, where you can go all the way to Glenwood Springs or all the way to Breckenwood.
Wow.
On your Breckenridge Ridge on your bike or hiking, whatever. So it's just going to get better and better as these other amenities that I don't really have any control over, but we're excited to give the land to the people that do.
I think I'd be willing to ride down that hill, but I don't know if I'd be willing to ride back up. Yeah.
No, I would use an e-bike.
Yeah, there you go, for sure. So Railyard Leadville was actually, what's the word, annexed by the city of Leadville. So residents here are citizens of the city,
Yes,
not the county.
correct.
Now, obviously, this development's currently having and will have in the future a huge economic development for the city of Leadville. So can you talk a little bit about the economic impact that we're seeing now and in the future?
The biggest impact by far is this property is located in a recently formed urban renewal district. And this was the brainchild of Mayor Greg Lobby. It had to go for a vote of the people to where all of the taxes that are created here in this project, and there may be a couple of other areas of town, but in this project, all of the real estate taxes are collected, go into a fund held by the Urban Renewal Authority. And their main purpose is, one, to help me a little bit with the infrastructure costs that we took on that were greater than normal due to just being here. And that all of those tax revenues eventually are going 100% to the rehabilitation, the maintenance of the downtown district, to where a lot of the property owners that own all these historic structures will have access to loans and grants from the real estate taxes generated here. The people who live here are not paying any more in taxes. It's the same tax if we had the district or didn't have the district. It's just that the other taxing the other taxing entities in the Leadville greater area and the county gave up their right for these taxes to preserve and enhance downtown Leadville, the historic district. So
That's
it's a great plan, and so everybody wins on that one.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people really know about that.
They don't know about it.
Yeah.
I'd like to get that word out to a lot of folks wondering what we're doing up here. So it also gives us an incentive to build and develop properly so that those taxes are generated for the greater use of Leadville.
Now, I know, though, in addition to the real estate taxes, one of the things that I kind of overlooked was the huge economic impact just of the development activity here and the purchases, of the materials. I mean, the millions of dollars that have gone into every one of these houses, the infrastructure, and the job creation. So could you talk a little about that?
Well, absolutely. This is a really incredible story. We have about 42 units already built here. And if you just figure the materials that went into them are roughly $500,000 a piece just in materials. We have tried in every way we can to see that Leadville and Lake County gets the sales taxes as opposed to going to Home Depot or someplace out of the county. We've done, I think, a very good job of generating a massive amount of sales taxes, which go directly to the county and the city. And all of those taxes go as usual. They're not part of the urban renewal district. And so that's a huge benefit to the city. And then almost all of our subcontractors now, except for a few in Summit County, are from right here in Leadville. And so we've probably employed an average of 20 people almost year round for the last 3 years.
Oh,
and
great.
Those are anywhere from builders, framers, painters, insulation, people that have businesses. We've tried to use as many local businesses as we have. So, and they're good people. We've enjoyed working with them.
That's great. So you talked a little bit, right now we're in phase one. We're in one of the single family homes for phase one of the subdivision. You mentioned phase two. So can you talk about just the future plans for expansion, the scope of the development?
Yes, it's going to follow phase one. In fact, the streets will all connect to phase one and phase two. The phase two residents will also share the amenities here. We have a nice large park called McClary Park. It's fully irrigated. Another one next to the Mineral Belt trail called Mineral Belt Green, and a very small pocket park, which we're next to here, called Matchstick Green. those amenities will be available not only to the residents of the Railyard, but to the residents of the city of Leadville. And it's in our plat. It's dedicated for that purpose. And but our HOA here, both in phase 1 and 2, will combine to maintain those parks, keep the irrigation running in perpetuity, and the landscape as well. So last year we planted almost 75 trees, and all but one of them made it. So we're going to be planting a lot more trees too.
Okay, all right. Do you have any idea when phase 2 might start coming out of the ground vertically?
Vertically will be either very, very late this year, or certainly next year, next spring, May of 2025. We have the water, the sewer in the ground. Mountain View Drive is paved. We're getting ready to put in fiber and gas in May, and then we'll be ready to start paving streets. So hopefully by the end of this year, all the infrastructure could be in for phase 2 except sidewalks. We'd like to do those last so we don't tear them up while we're building.
Gotcha. And there's also a phase 3 to the subdivision, correct?
Yes. Yes. We had planned to do phase 3, and we had an opportunity to partner with and sell our phase 3 land to a wonderful company called Fading West out of Buena Vista. And they're going to be, in conjunction with us, we've developed Mountain View Drive and all those improvements. We've shared those, but they will be responsible for and own and develop phase 3.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Have they mentioned any plans on a timetable for that phase?
I think they're about to get moving on it, maybe next year, but they have not filed their preliminary plat. But I think they're pretty much adopting the same framework and layout that we had planned for phase 3. They are the only modular manufacturer here in the state of Colorado, and they're just down the road. They are building some spectacular homes and apartments and townhomes. And so I love their architecture. Everything that's built here still has to go through our design review committee. So we have protections for our residents. It's the same with every commercial building, anything that's built. We have a very thorough process. There's 3 people on that board. I'm one of them, and then 2 of my architectural friends. One is Ronnie Pelucio. Another one is a longtime, renowned architect that actually does most of the work.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, back to residents here and everything. What about, I think we had talked a little bit about accessibility and transportation as far as access to the wider area for residents here.
Yeah, I do know that in talking with the folks that are going to be building the first hotel, and I'm part of the group in the second one, we hope to have at least one of those hotels sponsor a shuttle, which can take, at least in the winter, all the guests that want to go skiing at Copper Mountain or Ski Cooper, which is just 10 minutes away. And also to use the shuttles for getting people to work, or in the summertime to a lot of the amenities that are available around Lake County. We also plan to have a bus stop for the bus system here that transport people who want to go to Eagle County for work or Summit County for work. And we haven't designated that yet, but that's been in the plans for a long time.
Gotcha. Okay. I know, obviously working with you here as a realtor, selling homes for the last couple of years, that we saw just a boom of people during COVID that were buying immediately after. The economy had some big changes after that. I mean, interest rates went higher than they've been in years. We saw a lot of home buying activity in the larger Leadville area kind of really slow down. Has that affected the development side at all as far as the subdivision goes?
It really has not. We had a lot of building to complete as that was happening. Our lenders are still happy to loan us the money at 9% versus 4%. And the biggest issue we have is getting our projects through the planning departments of Lake County. And we are ready to go on some projects this spring, but we can't do that until you actually have a permit. So the permitting process is very lengthy and time consuming. But in the end, we have some projects that are built strictly to code, inspected. They've got a good inspection process now in Lake County, and we're happy with that. And we're completing, right now, we're completing 7 of 8 townhomes over on McClary Park, and really enjoying the relationship actually with the planning department and their inspectors.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this in general, this is a challenging environment to work in up here. Things take a lot longer to develop, to build than they would in a lot of other locations. What would you say have been the biggest challenges with Railyard Leadville, and how have you overcome those?
Well, I think the biggest challenge for me initially was finding competent project leaders to get some of these projects built. And through a process over the last 4 years, we've succeeded in finding the right people. And fortunately, a large construction company right here in Leadville, owned locally by people who live here, are now doing most of our framing and construction work on a lot of the buildings. They show up on time, they do great work, and their paychecks get spent right here in Lake County. So that's been a real blessing. Then we have developed other subcontractors in the areas of painting and insulation, also located right here in Leadville. Mm-hmm. And recently we found somebody who knows how to install a garage door and make them work right here in Leadville, instead of going to Colorado Springs or some other place where you're relying on them even be able to get here. Yeah. And it's also adding to the economies of getting things built by using locals, as opposed to having people come from Denver and all over to do certain specific things. Then you have to provide them housing and other expenses related to it. So the more we can use folks in Lake County, we will, and we have a good track record of that. Hopefully we're going to keep expanding that.
No. Now, I think I've heard you in the past describe this as kind of a legacy project.
Yep.
I know you're very proud of, a lot of what's been done here and what's going to be done here. So maybe if you could just, as we kind of wrap up, talk about what you see or hope for the future of Railyard Leadville.
Well, I'm not wanting to take credit for it, because Ronnie Pelusio's architectures here, planning and zoning, made a lot of good comments as we were going through the PUD, the planned unit development process. But in the past in Missouri, the developments that we've done on several hundreds of acres, when they're done and they're built out, everybody has enjoyed them. They've seen great appreciation in their properties, more so than normal, because of the attention to detail and design review, where we don't want everything to look the same, but we want it to look unique. And when I use that legendary type of language, we want people to drive through here 100 years from now and say, whose idea was this? Well, Ronnie Pelusio, myself, and a few other people, and some other architects, and you, people that believed in it, that can sell real estate here and develop a community for people. And eventually, when our HOA is fully operable, it's active, it's in existence, but as that thing develops, there's other amenities that this community can build. We have plenty of space in the parks for things that can be added to the parks for children, for adults, for reunions or whatever. There's just so many things that can be done that would further enhance the experience at a very low cost. If you've got 100 homeowners paying for something, it's very nominal in terms of what the HOA dues would be.
No. Well, it's going to be really exciting to see where it goes. I know a lot of us have really watched it from the start, and just been amazed at how fast it seems fast to us. Probably doesn't seem fast to you guys working on it, but how fast it's really come together. It continues to come together, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more of the commercial development this year and everything. But we really appreciate you just taking the time to kind of explain the project and more about it, because people see it every day, but so many people really don't know what's going on behind the scenes. So thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me today. And
well, thank you, Mark. It's been a challenge beyond anything I expected, but it's also a labor of love, as they say, and it's in my blood. And I'm very fortunate to have my daughter and my son also as owner developers of the project with me, and they've helped me tremendously as well.
Well, that's great. Yeah. Well, hey, we wish you continued success here, and just can't wait to see where the development goes.
Well, thank you. Look forward to seeing some more people move here on a permanent basis and enjoy this incredible land up here. This whole county's a national park, the way I look at it. Yeah. And come and enjoy it. There you go.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Well, hopefully some of the information in that interview was helpful for you. If you'd like more information on Railyard Leadville, be sure to check out my website at buyyourmountainhome.com or contact me. My information is below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.